One of the key tools parents can use to reduce the risk of sexual abuse is learning how to talk to their children about sexuality, and specifically teaching them healthy sexuality. I want to share a story about this, a very personal story, where I botched it big time. In fact, I have a good friend that says every family has a burnt waffle, and what she means by that is the first child gets the experiment. So I'm going to tell you about my first child and our discussion about sexuality and how I botched it, and contrast it hopefully with some positive examples that I had with some of my other children. So my oldest child was 8 years old. This was about 10 years ago. He's now 18. I was going to take my son to a basketball game. We're going to have the big talk. So if you can imagine this, we're driving to a basketball game, and being first-time over-paranoid parents, of course, he's in the back seat as an 8-year-old, sitting in a booster seat. Just what you would expect from first-time parents, right? So I just lay it out and tell all about how sex works, why we have sex. And I went on for about 20 minutes. And at the end of that 20 minutes, I asked him, "Son, do you have any questions?" He said, "Yeah, Dad, I have one." So I'm all amped up thinking this was going to be a great conversation. This was going to be a major success. And then he asked this question, "Dad, can we talk about something else?" Well, you can imagine how I felt as a parent. I thought, oh, that was a total fail. But what wasn't a failure is it started something inside my family that I consider to be extremely valuable. And that is, we as parents learn the importance of talking about sexuality with our kids. So let me contrast this with his younger sister, who's 2 years younger. She was 6 at the time. We immediately had age-appropriate discussions with her about her body and about things that would make sense to her at her age. We didn't have the big talk, but we started the little talks. We started the dialogue. An interesting thing happened as she turned 8 years old. We didn't have to come to her. She came to us. I remember it vividly. We were sitting in our bedroom. I was sitting on the end of her bed. She asked a question that was very poignant about sex. Christy and I made eye contact, and we knew we were heading down the road. She went on for about 30 minutes to ask question after question about sex and sexuality. It was a very appropriate, healthy discussion. Some of the key things that I want you to take away from this. First, if you open a dialogue with your kids about sexuality, it will bear good fruit over time. Second, you as a parent have the responsibility to protect your kids, to keep them safe. And sometimes having hard or what can be uncomfortable conversations with your kids about sex is part of that responsibility. Third, if you open dialogue with your kids, the likelihood that they will elevate conversation to you when they need help or when they are at risk is much higher than if you never talk about the topic. Teaching your kids about sexuality is one of the key tools that you can use as parents and caregivers to keep your children safe from sexual abuse.